Welcome to the Hyperborean HeeHaw. My name is Devin Madgy. Thank you for joining me. In today's HeeHaw, we're talking about the journey. In this dream, the journey of divine soul reclamation. So, life is but a dream. But now what? You see, we are in an illusion. And yet, the illusion persists. We are in a reality of pure fabrication. So now what? I mean, how do we deal with the lucidity we gain through realizing we're in a veil of Maya, we're in a dream, we're in a giant metaphor. And not only that, but now what? It's necessary in this process of divine soul reclamation, of ascension, to be disillusioned with this world. It's imperative that we understand that the offerings that tout themselves in this plane as oh so normal are actually quite detrimental to our consciousness. But why could that be possible? If you're in an illusion, how could anything be detrimental to your consciousness? Well, paradoxes upon paradoxes must be digested in order for anything to make sense, because, well, nothing ultimately makes sense unless we get rid of the over-adherence to logic, to intellectual academic conclusions, to finite interpretations. We all know that in this dream we can feel as if we are losing ourselves. Because this dream is a complete manifestation of a world that has lost itself. So when we decide to engage like a petty, weak, soulless human in this simulation of consciousness, we consent to forgetfulness of our divinity. What manifests the dream? One could say forgetfulness. So, how do you break the dream? Through remembering. What is it we must remember? The truth of our being, the truth of consciousness, the truth of cause and effect, how energy operates. Because this is an illusion, we must traverse the layers of this illusion to lift ourselves out of Maya. This is why our realizations require the container of time in order to really have an impact on this process of soul reclamation. When you knock down a series of dominoes, there is a very specific succession of events that must take place. What are those events? Well, it's one domino knocks down the other, knocks down the other, knocks down the other. Similarly, this reality we're in presents us automatically all of these tests, all of these trials, all of these tribulations, the energies inside of us, which we're not aware of, always manifest on the outside in this dream in order for us to stop forgetting. This life is a dream, but it's not just a dream. It's not insignificant. It's not simply fake. It's fake because forgetfulness is not the authentic mode of being. It's only in forgetfulness that we require the container of matter in time. So let us be grateful for being in such a strange dream. It's not pleasant. I'm not here saying it is. But it's perfect. So life is but a dream. Now what? Well, let the dream play out and stay awake, aware, and alive. And I mean about everything. In health, in speech, in action, in thought, etc., etc. I find it to be quite enriching, enlivening, to know this life is but a dream. It takes away an edge of seriousness, doesn't it? Now, in this dream, because it is a complete reflection of forgetfulness, we have various components that when we decide to energetically consent to them, we feel terrible. What am I specifically talking about? Well, anything in this world which is coming from fear, concern, worry, anxiety. Anything which tells you to be concerned, to be worried, to take into account things outside of your control, is simply a lie. So, in this dream, if we want to stagnate, we end up turning the dream quite nightmarish. Haven't you had a dream at night in which all was going well and then it turned sour? Not all nightmares begin as nightmares, but equally, not all nightmares need to remain. There are oh so many beings who immaturely point the finger here, there, left, right, everywhere. If only that wasn't there. If only that didn't exist, then I could finally what? Reclaim your consciousness? Feel happy? Are you a slave? While you are in a dream, while you are in a veil of Maya, I urge you all not to feel helpless, not to feel victimized by the situation, because you have freedom even within what appears to be bondage. I doubt anybody who is listening to this has a foot on their neck for hours a day, or even for 5 minutes a day. So, what's the problem? What's the problem? Well, if a problem is felt, it only ever stems from one's own consciousness. So who's to blame? You are. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, however. Full responsibility is the sovereign way. It's the way of the gods and the goddesses. If we know there is an area of our existence that could use some improvement, then what is the holdup? It's quite clear to me that generally we fear expansion more than contraction, because all around us is contraction. I mean, we can try to blend into this world and emulate its contractive ways, the ways of the world. We can, but that's not the only way. One could say it's easier to simply follow the crowd. But did we ever stop to think holistically what this does to us? How does that affect your soul? And you have something called emotions. And these emotions tell you exactly the condition of your soul. Exactly what it is, well, you might be avoiding, you might be accomplishing. For instance, incessant anxiety and depression and a feeling of worthlessness are actually screams from the soul. Please listen to me. The heart needs to be nurtured. And it needs to be nurtured authentically, not for any specific gain, but for true reclamation of one's true self. And by the way, the true self doesn't have to be bland. After all, even as I say the true self, I recognize this can sound a bit sterile. The true self. The true self is simply the unburdened self. What's your true self? Well, your true self is the deepest aspect of you which has no ounce of fear, worry, calculation for the future. The true self does not dwell in the past, and it does not take earthly constructs and put them on pedestals, like money, like fame, like power over others. I hear day in and day out cries of pain. Oftentimes these cries of pain will suggest, if only humans could learn, if only they could wake up. It's almost as if when one is saying such words, they mean, I am only able to elevate myself if others elevate themselves first. So if we want others to be the signifier of our ability to reclaim what is truly within, well, that sounds like a slippery slope to me. It sounds dependent to me. In fact, I know many of you probably do as well, that this dream manifests such a dull world with barely any adherence to infinite truth because it's about your journey. You must lift yourself out of the depths of hell into purgatory, so you can then cleanse yourself of that which is not you, and get back to the divine homeland, Hyperborea. Life is but a dream. Now what? Well, you have options. You can wait around, hoping the dream ends. Or you can sit tight, authentically be the you that you know yourself to be, and let the dream play out. As long as we're here, we're learning, we're growing. So there are, of course, various moments in which we might say, I just want all of this to be done with. My goodness. Come on, chop chop. What's the holdup? But we are here. Not to mention, there is one moment, and that moment is right now. This is so powerful. It's so powerful because it means what we've called time is really just a series of now moments bleeding into each other, but it's really all one. So, how can we tell that we are really taking care of our consciousness? Well, are we in the present moment? Are we embracing where we are, what it is we're up to? I'm not advocating to be a now moment zombie. Obviously, there are things to take into account. But anxiety comes from a feeling that there's impending doom in the future. So one could say, if we look towards the future and we're just looking forward and forward, then we're not even here. We're not in the now moment. And where are we? Well, we're not embodied, that's for sure. We're somewhere else. We're like in hyperspace. Life is but a dream. Now what? Live, learn, and love yourself. Love yourself. Unfortunately, terms like love yourself in this world have oftentimes been used in a different way that I'm using it. Love yourself even if you're toxic. You're morbidly obese, love yourself. You have mental ailments, love those ailments. But if you really love yourself, you will feel the ills of illusion within your being and want to get out of such illusion and reclaim that energy which had sustained such illusion. Obviously, nothing is as it seems. The Mandela effect, synchronicities, repeating numbers, deja vu, all of these coincidences are here to display to us that this is not what we think it is, that there actually are inconsistencies in the narrative of this world. And after traversing so many inconsistencies, there's nowhere left to turn but within. That's exactly why this dream has operated in the way it has. As this dream reveals exactly what it is, just a dream, there's nowhere else to go but within. This is a source of pain right now. After all, To go outside of oneself and ignore the inner is to distract oneself. No longer can we really distract ourselves. There's too much pressure now. And if we want to distract ourselves, we pay the price, don't we? We feel it. I'll make this claim. The force we call karma manifests more and more instantly in these current moments. Increasingly, the gap between cause and effect, between inner and outer, between intention and manifestation, that gap is closing. As singularity looms, and there's no doom. Even though all of these motherfuckers want to tell you to be afraid and doom this, doom that, well, knowing this is a dream, you can ignore all of that and see all of these strange manifestations as quite cartoonish. I mean, can a cartoon really scare you? There's no spirituality without humor, without a sense of levity. So while there is a sense of duty, of course, and it is a serious sense, we must always integrate the above and the below. So yes, this is quite the serious process. I mean, really, this is about crawling out of the depths of one's own inverted tendencies and masochistic inflictions. But at the same time, it's kind of a fun little game we're playing with ourselves. You know, why can't both of those be true at the same time? They are. Likewise, why can't you have various divine expressions stemming from the same heart space? You can. We can. Nothing's stopping you. We are more afraid of expansion than contraction. Because expansion means the illusion has to fall apart. This requires a process of honesty and even of leaving behind aspects of our lives that no longer serve us, habits that no longer serve us, patterns that no longer serve us. And what's the other option? I mean, really, what's the other option? Are you going to ignore the intuitive voice because it's too difficult to transform? Well, what's the other option? Just stagnate? This is a place of suffering and good. Good. You forgot the divine. This is why you suffer. This is why we suffer. Because we forget. So, you're going to suffer in forgetfulness. And you know what? You'll probably suffer as you're remembering. So, pick your poison, right? It's not the easiest thing to look at oneself in the mirror and say things need to change. But it's equally disheartening to not look in the mirror and say things need to change. So, let us stay aware, because without awareness, confusion reigns. If we really think we can sweep anything under the rug, we don't know what cause and effect is. There's nothing we can ignore. There's nothing we can ignore within our microcosmic realities and think we're going to get away with it. When we refuse to expand and would rather contract and stagnate, it's kind of like a soul rebellion. It's like, ooh, I'm a bad bitch. I'm not expanding. I'm not doing what's healthy for me. After all, what is the allure of something like junk food? Or what is the allure of violence? Well, rebellion. Rebellion is forgetfulness. It's willful forgetfulness. So we have this story in the monotheistic tradition that there was a rebellion. This figure who rebelled is called Lucifer. And I'm only using this as a metaphor. I'm not using this to actually bow down to God or something like that. And Lucifer, in the story, is called a rebel. And he falls. Yes, we fall into the dream due to forgetfulness, stemming from rebellion of our own divine nature. Fortunately, we can't really lose ourselves to the dream, because the dream is intelligently constructed by Sophia, the original force of wisdom. So she pulls the strings of everything we experience, and because this is a mother energy, it's impossible for a living soul to really lose themselves to a dream. You can't lose yourself to a dream at night. Eventually you wake up. The bottom line is, you shall reclaim what you lost. Because what you think you've lost is really just hiding, protecting itself. Nothing can be lost, only forgotten about. But it doesn't make it any less real to say this. We still experience in such a dream-like setting the pain and the woes. Paradoxes upon paradoxes. This doesn't make sense, but ultimately, it does. Can we digest that? Or do we need some kind of finite bottom line in fancy calligraphy? Thank you for joining me, for joining us on the Hyperborean HeeHaw. Take care. Keep up the great work.